It's a call to action. So what boredom is telling us in that moment when we feel it, it's saying, whatever you're doing right now is not satisfying you.
Why do we get bored?
There's lots of different reasons why we might get bored, right? The prime one that most people think about is monotony. If something's just unchanging over and over and over again, like, that sort of monotony, that repetition, that nothing's changing, that can be very boring. One of the things that a colleague of mine, Wynand van Tilburg, says too, if we find things meaningless, right? So if what you're doing, you feel like you're constrained because you have to do it, you can't get out of it, but you're just looking at it thinking, this is pointless. Just doesn't matter to me, and I can't see how to make it matter to me. That'll make you bored as well. There are situations too where, if you find yourself trying or being challenged to do something, but it's just way outside of your capacities. Maybe before you started, you thought it wasn't going to be. Maybe you thought you'd be able to cope. That sort of brings me to an aspect of boredom that's really critical, I think, that when we're bored, it's sort of made pretty obvious to us that we're not being very effective agents, right? We're not exercising our agency, which is to say, we're not pursuing goals that we've chosen in the way that we want to pursue them.
Do we need to be bored, though? Like, is there something in our brains that, like, look, boredom is boredom good in a way?
It's a call to action. So what boredom is telling us in that moment when we feel it, it's saying, whatever you're doing right now is not satisfying you. It's maybe not meaningful enough. It's maybe not challenging enough. You need to find something else.
It kind of sounds like it lets us know what we don't like and then opens us up to trying new things.
Yeah, you can say it that way. I mean, I think one of the things that's sort of frustrating and negative about boredom when you're feeling it is that when you say it opens us up to new things, it doesn't do the hard work of figuring out what those new things will be. That's on you, right? Boredom's not going to say, oh, look, here's an opportunity. Boredom's just going to say, go find an opportunity.
The big questions that I had going into this, right? Like, okay, well, why do we get bored? And then how do we keep ourselves from getting bored?
That's the $64,000 question, and I get asked it a lot. There's a sort of triumvirate of things that you can do when you're in the moment of being bored. I'm not sure how well this helps the chronic bored person. But when you're in that moment, the first thing to do is to take a deep breath. So as I mentioned before, one of the most common things people report when they're bored is that they report feeling agitated and restless. Well, it's pretty hard to figure out what you want to do next or what you think would be a meaningful thing to engage with when you're restless, when you're agitated, when you're pacing around, right? So just to calm down, take a deep breath and allow that restlessness to dissipate. That's the first step. The second two steps are really contemplative. And the first one would be to say, well, why am I bored right now? What is it about the circumstance I'm in? And what that allows you to do is to perhaps reframe it, to think about it differently. So, people who work on assembly lines are not always bored because they can sometimes reframe the task. There's evidence that people on, assembly lines will say that they try to beat their personal best on the line every hour. Well, they've just turned a monotonous and potentially boring task into a personal challenge. And now it's not boring. And so if you find yourself in a moment of boredom, perhaps you can do the same thing. You can reframe the circumstance to be more meaningful, to be more purposeful for you, and now you won't be bored as much. And the third thing is the other contemplative aspect of this is to sort of spend some time considering what your goals are, right? So boredom is showing us that in this moment, what we're doing is to us not very meaningful. Well, what is meaningful to us, right? We don't spend a lot of time in our lives thinking about that, considering what are the goals that I have? Am I pursuing them well? And if not, can I pursue them better? And when I talk about goals like that, I want to be careful about sort of setting people up for unrealistic expectations. I'm not talking about grand goals. I'm not saying that, every time you get bored, you should start to ponder why you haven't yet cured cancer. I'm thinking about any type of goal that's personally relevant to you. And they could be big and small. It could be from anything from, wanting to sort of foster better relationships with your family and friends, or wanting to get something small achieved in a hobby. It doesn't really matter what the size or scope of the goal is. What matters is that it matters to you.